So today's project, we are going to be putting a sink in a basement. It is going to be one of the larger laundry tubs. I've got it unboxed and sitting here. It's upside down at the moment. And we're going to put it in this corner over here. In order to do that, I need to access the plumbing, both the drain and the water, which are conveniently right above where I'm going to be working. I've got a 3-inch drain line coming down and hot and cold water. The house was built in the mid-90s, so we're looking at copper pipes, and I'm going to be converting over to PEX to get them and run them down the wall here. PEX is a lot easier to work with. And I also need to install a upwards pump, since our actual septic outlet is right here, about 5 feet off the basement floor. So the pump is going to need to pump the water up out of the sink, up the wall, and into the drain lines. I'm going to cut into this wall here as cleanly as I can. Hopefully I can find the studs without too much trouble, and then cut a section out, try and keep it as clean as possible, and then bring the water lines and the drain lines right out here on this wall. And we're going to build a frame out around the tub, or around the sink tub, and then we're going to cover the outside of that sink basin to get the same finished look, and do our best to match the trim and the stain that's down here. I've already attached the drain lines. These just screw together. The PVC is really simple. Push it together, no compression fitting in there, tighten it down. These screw on, adjust the width. The pump is going to need to attach here. These legs just to pop into the body, and then use a hammer to tighten them up. So to get enough distance for this, enough height for this to fit, I'm probably going to have to cut this pipe off here. Sitting here, it's all the way to the floor, the bottom of the legs, and I need room for my adapter pieces. Fortunately, this pump kit comes with everything you need, and I'm going through the box and figuring out what parts I need. I bought this for connecting to the pipes. Shark bite style fittings are really nice. They allow you to connect copper to PEX to just about anything that's 1/2 inch. As with any project I seem to do, we always spend more time going to the store to get parts that you didn't have the first time, and I just got back from the store with some new ends to fit on, and now I can get the pump connected up to it and figure out my exact spacing. I'm going to have very little space underneath it just because of the length of the feet, and I have to come off the pump with a drain. There's going to be a check valve in place so the water will only flow one way, and also a shut-off valve, which was the valve that I was just showing you there. Now on to actually exposing the wall and figuring out what we have to work with. And fortunately for me, they never painted the bottom section of the wall, which is fine. As soon as I get this exposed, I can now actually see exactly where the 2x4s are, and that'll help when I'm cutting a hole into the wall to run the pipes up through. And one thing I always do is pull the nails out before I set the boards aside. The feet you save may be your own, so always pull those nails out. And I need to bring the plumbing probably down this one would be best, which means I'm only going to have a short distance here, since the stud goes right up through there, almost where that screw hole is. But that's enough for an 1.5 inch piece of pipe and 2 lines of PEX. And then the drain can be here. I'll also need to run power down through there and have an outlet, since there's no outlet on this side of the room. I'll need power for the pump. All right, with the sink in place, pump will be over here, and then I can run my drain out and right into there, into that cavity here in this 2x4. So that'll work out okay. I should have a place for the valve adjustment too. The pump won't be in the way of that. I'll be able to reach it through an access door and the wainscoting we put around the front of the sink. So here I'm marking my access hole for the pipes to go through, and then after cutting that, I'm going to mark lines going all the way up to the wall, and that'll be the piece that I cut out but return back in later on. The little door that I made will probably just stay right out of the wall. And I'm using the flashlight to help me see the lines. It's a dark purple wall, kind of hard to see exactly where the lines are for doing the cutting. And then I'm going to use a right angle drill to drill a hole from the top. That way I can get my pipes and my plumbing all down through this hole, a big 3-incher. That'll give me access. And then just need to come up here with the drain and drop it right into this 3-inch pipe here, which then goes around to the 4-inch pipe, which goes over to the main sewer line. Once the drain comes out of the tub, you need to go into this valve and check valve. And what the check valve does is it prevents any water from coming back down the wall. So obviously you're pumping it up the wall, you want it to go up the wall and not come back to the tub. So the check valve is the black thing there, and that's going to be after the flow control valve. And the flow control valve allows you to adjust the flow coming out of the pump so it's not too fast or not too slow, and we'll cover that in a little more detail later. But for right now, you just need to make sure that that check valve is below the bottom of the sink tub surface. So I'm kind of lining this up here, figuring out exactly how things are going to go, and then measuring everything I need, getting a straight line from the bottom of the tub so I know where my junctions all need to be. Now I can cut the upflow pipe and have that set and ready for the rest of the process. I'm actually just using a metal blade on a sawzall here. I'll give it a nice, smooth, clean cut. For any drain system, and as we're tapping into this 3-inch drain, you need to make sure that your water flow goes in the correct way. So I'm illustrating that here. The water flow needs to go in and then towards the direction that your water is flowing. If you have that Y on the pipe going the wrong way, then it's going to fight the water flow, and you definitely don't want that. Okay, so I've got the water shut off in the house. It's from the basement. It took a really long time to drain. I am going to prep some PEX here. I've got it run from a spot here in the ceiling where there's an easy place where I can get to the copper pipe water lines, where I can actually flex them apart. So I'm going to put a T in to there, and then this is going to run down the wall next to where the sink is going. I'm going to use a shark bite style T. They're really nice, easy to work with. Get a little stiffener, comes with it. Stick it in there, and then push it in until it snaps, and you've got a watertight seal. It's just that easy. Works on copper and PEX. You can also works with CPVC, which is really awesome. Quick connect, fast as can be. So I've got the PEX side. I'm going to position it where I want it, fasten it in place, and then get the other side with the valve on, just in case there's a lot of leaking going on. I want the valve set up so that it's going to be shut off on the other end. Water's still on in the bathroom next to here, so it should be completely drained out and we should be okay. Okay, we're going to put in the hotline now. A little tip for you, when I got this out of the package, the stiffener was stuck in it. If you press down on that little plastic ring, then you can pull out whatever's in there, so you can actually reuse these. It's a little release mechanism. It was not easy, so I wasn't able to record it. I needed both hands and a lot of pressure to get it to come out, but I got it out and I can use it. The stiffener goes in packs only. Do not need it for copper. So here's the finished product. I just cut into the copper with a tubing cutter and then push those right on there, and they are just that simple as far as connecting, just quick and painless. Okay, we are back and going to work on the drain now. The water lines are all set up, tested, pressurized, everything's good. So I have the pump setting on a tile to keep it isolated from the carpet and let it dissipate heat. And you have to have your check valve and control valve set up in line with the pump. And I'm cutting the drain line to get the height I need for the pump. Alright, as usual, I spent 5 minutes looking for something that was right next to me. Here I'm just using Teflon tape to thread in the inserts for the pump. There's an inlet and an outlet, and we're just going to screw those in tight, bring them in with channel locks, and then we can start connecting up the rest of the drain system. Unions like this are a great thing to add in line, especially around pumps. It allows you to unscrew it quickly at a later date should you have to replace the pump or work on the pump. You can just unscrew that piece and the whole thing will come apart without having to undo the drain system. And right here I'm just over engineering, which I quite often do, and adding a 2x4 right underneath the drain and pushing it up tight against the drain, so the whole weight of that drain is actually going to be sitting on a 2x4 support. And just a little extra, just in case, just to add and eliminate any kind of stress on that pump mechanism. While I was down there working, the pipe fell out of the hole and out of the whole cavity, and since the 2x4 is down there, I can't get it to go down and out. But I have a coupler here. This is exactly why. I can take this apart and then pull the sink away and then get my pipe where it needs to be. And there you have it. We've got the pump running into the union that we can easily disconnect, the flow valve control, and the check valve. And that goes right up the wall, the drain, along with my water supply. To tie into the 3-inch drain, what you want to do is get a 3-inch to 1.5 inch T like this, and you want to make sure that the flow is going the right direction. And if you look at the Y there on the top, that is going in the same direction as the flow of the water through the pipe. And if you follow it through the house, you can see which way it's going. Now, to make this easier, I'm also adding a flexible coupling, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut for the T there, and then that flexible coupling is going to allow me to split it apart, push it all together, and then screw that flexible coupling on so that I can have the flex I need to add that T into the system. Otherwise, it really wouldn't be possible. Now that we're all prepared, we can cut into a 3-inch drain. I'm cutting the 2 cuts for the actual T that fits, and then I need to cut the line for the flexible coupling. So I'm going to cut that off, the test fit, and make sure I can fit my T in there. I actually can't, so I'm going to have to shorten that. And then now it'll fit. I can get my flexible coupling slid over it, screw it down in place, and everything's happy. Now I can go through and put in the actual drain coming from the sink into that T. And the dry fit is successful. With the pieces in place, be sure to mark so you know where to line up your elbows. Here is our laundry sink pump. My drain is way up in the ceiling. We're in the basement here. So the drains come down and then go into this pump. I set it on a tile so there's lots of good airflow underneath it. It's not sitting in the carpet. It's got heat distribution, dissipation, so I don't have to worry about that. I've got my weight of my drain actually sitting on a 2x4, so that's not putting any stress in the pump or any stress up in the ceiling. And then all the water's plumbed in. I've got shutoffs here I can get to if I need to, although the front cover is going to be covering those up. The big thing to note here is this valve, okay? This valve here is what lets you adjust the flow rate for the pump. Now this pump pumps a lot of water all at once, and what happens is your sink, when you fill it, when you're running water, is not going to come anywhere close to the capacity of this pump. So if you don't restrict the flow, this pump is going to quickly empty itself, shut off, and then as the water is coming in the sink, it'll turn itself back on again, and off and on and off and on and off and on and off, and eventually it'll burn up the pump. So you use this valve to restrict your flow to the point where the pump runs at a steady rate. And I can illustrate this. So I've got the water turned on full bore here, and you can probably hear the pump in the background. I had to marinate over top of this because there's just way too much noise going on. But the pump's running at a steady flow right now. And if I open this valve up here, the pump will start to surge because it quickly empties itself and then shuts off, and then does the same thing repeatedly over and over and over. And you'll be able to hear that as soon as I open that right up. So I'm going to close that back to where I had it, and the flow will stabilize once again, and then we are good to go. The pump's happy as can be. When I shut the water off, there will be a few seconds of surging as the water finishes emptying out of the sink basin. That's of course unavoidable, but that's all you need to do to adjust the flow rate of it. Unfortunately around this, it's going to run a few seconds here and there until the last of the water gets out. Lastly, here's a quick little trick for you. I'm using a level to cut both sides of the paper in my seam that I've got going on here, and then I'm very carefully pulling the paper layer of the drywall off. And what I'm going to do here after I get this paper layer pulled off is use some regular drywall tape and mud that on and have a nice firm connection with the drywall tape, filling in that paper layer that I cut out, so it's a nice smooth flat surface with no hump to have to seam over. And I think it turned out quite well, actually.